Black Mirror Season 7, Episode 3, Hotel Reverie. I'm going to let you know my thoughts of this episode. Leave a comment down below what you think of this episode out of 10, and let's get into it. Starting off, we're going to talk about the story. This episode is all about a dying film company that is saved by a company called REVERIE, who can re-establish a film, an old film, and make it new by adding in a new actor in the place of somebody else, seemingly using AI, but in a way that we've never seen before. We hear the head of the company, Judith Keyworth, and Kimmy, the company lead of REVERIE, are talking about what actor they could bring into the role of the big classic hit Hotel Reverie, which is kind of linked to Casablanca and like old black and white classics like that back in the day. And they're talking about funny things like, let's get Ryan Reynolds involved or Ryan Gosling, one of the Ryans, they say, but they all turn them down. And who they actually end up with is Brandy Friday, played by Issa Rae, who's looking and longing for a lead role within a film. That, you know, she wants to have her own Casablanca, she wants to have her own love story to delve into and not be a side character to somebody else, which I think in itself is a very interesting concept. And it's very true to a lot of actresses, you know, that play the side character to a male lead. And that's what it was back in the day in this Hotel Reverie film. There was a James Bond-like character who played the lead role. But of course, as I said, they bring in a woman to play that lead role. But again, you know, subverting from those norms within the film industry, I thought was quite cool to do from the off. It wasn't their initial plan as well, which I thought was interesting. But the actual technology of REVERIE, now this is where the story really comes together, is how do they get this actress into the film to play alongside these co-stars that are no longer alive. And the way they do that is by uploading her consciousness into an AI system, which has already, you know, co-assigned all of those actresses and actors in this set, this configured set in this technology. Clara is seemingly there, and she's told, Brandy Friday, she's told not to refer to them outside of the characters, because all they seemingly are those characters. You know, that is Clara. That is, you know, that character. They are playing the characters. They're not real, they're AI. And we see this episode play out, and just initially that concept, I think, is incredible. Of course, we're in a world now with AI and, you know, the writer's strike that happened in the past, and I think, you know, there's an element to stories not being true to themselves anymore, and AI being ruining that and really filtering down true great stories. But this was used in a very different way where, you know, you're not taking away from anything. You're just seamlessly adding something to something from the past and actually reviving it, revitalizing it. And obviously that's what they're hoping with this film company, trying to re-spruce and get some money back in. And the story just plays out to be, in my opinion, arguably a better love story than some 2-hour films. Do you know what I mean? I actually was genuinely moved by this episode. I loved it completely. I thought the story played out so beautifully, you know, from the fact that the system goes down in a very funny way. I think it was a little bit silly, but a little bit funny at the same time. You know, there's a scene where they have their first kiss, and one of the tech savvy guys does the very notorious lean over. What are you leaning over for? Okay, because he's clearly getting a little bit heated about what scene he's seen. And in the process, he knocks over the cup of water or the cup of coffee that he has next to him by the technology, which we heard earlier Kimmy say to him, you know, your own rule is not to have that water there. Of course, you kind of knew that was going to come back and play a part in the episode, but the way it did play a part was something I didn't expect from the episode. You expected to go down the very dark route where, you know, Brandy Friday, the big A-lister actress, is attached to this system. It's all shut down. She's going to die. Bish bash bosh, Black Mirror being Black Mirror. But no, it went down a different route. She ends up actually probably experiencing something worse. She goes down this route of falling in love with this AI character of Clara, who eventually learns of her true identity of Dorothy. That was the actress's name. And she exits the system. She goes into like the void and is free reign to access all the data set of all the information ever. And we find out the true story about Dorothy in that section, where, you know, she was kind of like spoken of that she died at home to an overdose. She was a recluse. She had no friends and loved ones and and we find out probably the real reason why that was the case was because she was a lesbian, most likely, and she lived a life in a time where that probably wasn't allowed, and she fell in love with I think it was the makeup artist on set. And you saw like that was one bit that when the main lead comes in and like walks in front of the mate, and you see her face just drop. She's living a lie in a life where it was horrible. It's horrible to see that realization. And you see Clara, but it's Dorothy, the AI, realize that. And this whole like couple month period where they're in this AI world together they fall in love. And I just thought it was amazing. I thought it was actually a very beautiful love story where as soon as they get the tech back on, it's done. Quite literally, it happens so quick, and Brandy has to readjust to this idea that was all fake. And the story obviously plays out where she eventually does get out of the thing by saying the final line, but she is genuinely distraught. And at the end of the episode, we see her get access to talking to Clara through the telephone, which I thought was a lovely little ending. But we won't talk about too much because I still got to go through all the other categories. Let's move on to the concept. As I said already, the concept was incredible. You touched on a few things within it. Of course, the AI advancement in the real world. Where could it end up? Where could it go? And this element of it ending up like this was just so cool. The fact that they were AI, but they were free to maneuver. Okay, so of course, like the parameters of where they've taken them from they didn't just rip them from the film. They grabbed the information of that character from the film, set them on like a route to play out the same way. But if it did differ, if it did alter, which we saw, it was able to allow for that. It made them feel more real than AI, of course, by saying the name Dorothy and this tech, they were unaware of it, by calling her accidentally by her real, what her real life name was. It led to the algorithm, the AI, the coding developing outside of the fact of what parameters they set it for, which I thought was really, really interesting. Of course, we see that play out more when she enters the void, as I mentioned. But yeah, just the concept as a whole of actually taking a classic film, using AI in a way that doesn't change it, but allows for a newer version of it by implementing a real life a character into a set that isn't real. That was just incredible. It was genuinely an incredible concept, and that's why we love Black Mirror. This episode is probably one, I don't want to give away, but probably one of my top 10. I think you can't give me a concept like that and not love it. It was such a brilliant concept. Let's move over to the characters, and I think the characters of this episode make it what it is. This episode is just Brandy and Clara alone, or Dorothy. Those characters alone completely carry this episode and make it incredible. Emma Corrin and Issa Rae actually put in worldy performances in this one, in my opinion. I'm not an expert when it comes to acting stuff, but I felt so moved by what they were doing in this episode. I want to start with Brandy Friday. As I said at the beginning, she's an actress that is kind of the side character in a lot of the films that she's been in, and she wants that step up, that advancement. But you could kind of feel even she opens the door to collect the parcel. She opens up her gate, and that delivery person, refers to her ex and things like that. So I don't know if there was a world where, she was wanting that Casablanca sort of love story. She wanted a love story role at the main lead in a romance sort of film. She wanted that, but was that also because she was missing something in her real life? Possibly so. I kind of felt that near the end of the episode, which I'll get to when I talk about the twist. Yeah, I felt like she wanted that in her real life as well. So that's why when the things happen in the down period of the technology, where it's all offline and it's just her and Clara and they fall in love, I felt like that's what she was truly longing for. And it was beautifully intertwined with what Dorothy was always longing for in, Dorothy, the real actress's name, and Clara. And this is where Emma Corrin, they put in a unreal performance. I thought the bit where Clara ends up in the void, finds out about Dorothy and her path, and we find out as an audience truly what her character, what her person was, and what she went through, the lie that she lived. Oh man, I swear that was just the look on Clara's face, on Dorothy's face, when the male lead walked in over the makeup. She just couldn't be her true self in a world that didn't allow for it. And in this AI made up world where Dorothy gains sentience, it allowed her to live her true life after death. And I don't know how to word it, but it just was so beautiful, because I feel so as I said, they basically were perfect for each other. Brandy allowed for Dorothy to finally live her true life, her true self, and be with her. And then Clara as a character and Dorothy allowed her to have that lead, that romantic story in her life that she was longing for. I think it's a subtle thing as well. Brandy Friday being a black actress playing the lead role in an old black and white film, using this technology, which which allowed for it, was really lovely to see, because in the past, you know, that wouldn't have been seen, and that wouldn't have been done in like a big Hollywood blockbuster film back in the 40s or whenever it was, the black and white films. You wouldn't see that lead. And I thought that was just a nice little subtle thing that they did for a reason, to, you know, kind of just have a subtle reference to highlight that, which I thought was really, really lovely as well. But yeah, just a lovely, lovely, lovely story concept, and the characters in it were just great. Like even just like Kimmy as like a Aquafina, just like a tech nerd, like the head of it, really trying to keep the reins going. And then as far as like the head of the film company, the emotions she feels, because it was like her dad's company that is now failing, and she's desperate to keep it alive, and alive in a different way. I just thought it was really good. Finally, the twist. Okay, the twist, of course, wasn't the tech in this episode, which is like, I just love Black Mirror. The twist doesn't have to be something crazy all the time. The twist was that Brandy Friday, a very successful actress and things like that, was happy to sacrifice her life to pursue this AI character, Clara/Dorothy. I keep doing that because, you know, technically it is just Clara, but no, it developed into Dorothy because of the, you know, the void part. But yeah, the twist was that she was happy to sacrifice her life. The twist was that she fell in love with this AI. And I think that was also something very telling, something very damning to what real life could look like in a few years' time. And I've spoken about on this channel before about advancements in AI and AI girlfriends, AI this, AI that, and like this is something that we will see. We are going to see it. It's no doubt in my mind. And I think the ending, as much as it's very uplifting and very nice for Black Mirror, you know, it ends with her having access to the show reel of Clara, but like it's AI, and we realize if she went down that sentient path before, she could do it again. And she's on the phone, she's able to contact her whenever she wants. Very uplifting, very positive, very lovely, especially with the love story we just saw, where obviously she dies in the film and she's distraught and devastated, etc, etc. We see that. I might be a bit sinister here, but I see that as a little bit of a dark note, because Brandy Friday was pursuing this love interest in the real life, but was masking it as she just wanted a lead role, in my opinion. That's how I read it, as I said previously. Now she has access to this AI character that she's fallen in love with at all times on the phone. In theory, in my mind, she now doesn't get to move on. She now is caught up in love with this character who's Dorothy, who's long dead, and she might become recluse. She might not go down that and find love in real life. She might just end up in this time as like just in love with this AI character, and she can't differentiate from that. She can't leave that. She can't find love in the real world. She becomes caught up in that. I don't know if that's a very sinister way for me to look at it, and is that because Black Mirror is always quite sinister, so I feel like there's a sinister undertone to all of the endings, even if they are quite uplifting. Maybe I'm looking into it a little bit too much. Let me know if you agree in the comments down below. I just can't see it other than that. Or you could just see it, it's just a nice thing that she now has a good friend that she can always contact and talk to, but I just see it going down that same path where she just gets caught up in that AI character, caught up in that relationship, the love that she felt, because she remembers everything. She remembers those months and months where she spent with Clara/Dorothy. And yeah, just this episode was incredible. Okay, the story was beautiful, the characters were so well done and well written and well acted. The twist and the concept, just chef's kiss. 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. I actually might give it a 9.5, but 9 out of 10. It moved me. It moved me. Yes, I cried. Did you? Let me know. If you're not subbed, guys, drop a sub. Let me know what you think of this series so far, of me ranking all of the Black Mirror episodes from season 7. I'm yet, at this current point of recording, I'm yet to watch 4, 5, and 6, and it's what I'm going to do right now, okay? Tomorrow you'll see my review of episode 4. Thank you for coming through. I've been Floppyleggs, and I'll see ya when I see ya.